This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen. With Chris Clark.
The 2007 South Carolina class was, at that time, 6th in the country and 4th in the SEC, which is amazing.
Wes Mitchell.
You know, I think if you're South Carolina, you're aiming to at least be at 50%. Then in theory, you're adding talent, you're getting better, you're putting yourself in a position to compete.
And Tyler Head.
It's been a great week for South Carolina. On the recruiting front, still certainly plenty to talk about.
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
All right, and welcome into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you. Broadcasting live from Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street in West Columbia. We've been out here all morning long. Thanks again to Nikki Emmanwori for hanging out with us for the Garnet Trust Hour. Still have baseball tickets to give away. Got gift certificates for Gold Line Framing. So come out and see us again out here until noon, right across the street from Zesto in West Columbia. So come out and grab some cool prizes and check out what Gold Line Framing has to offer, and thank you so much to them for allowing us to be out here for today's show. Guys, the rain finally subsiding, so if they can stay that way, hopefully we can get game one in tonight between South Carolina and Tennessee. Obviously a huge series for both teams wrapping up the regular season, and once you're in this series this weekend, you jump right into Hoover at the beginning of next week.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the final push, I feel like, for a month and a half. The final push is here. And so this is obviously a massive series for them. And I think, you know, I look at it from both sides. Obviously, they didn't want to have this sort of stumble that they've been in the last, three and a half weeks. But at the same time, I think if you told the staff, if you told the fans, hey, you'll go into this final week, if you win this series, if you maybe win a game in Hoover, you're going to have a chance to be a top 16 host. Most people probably would have signed for that. Now, they got to go perform this week. I feel like we talked about that buffer they had built by winning so many games early on. I feel like the buffer is gone. Like, they've eaten away at it. You got to take 2 of 3 from Tennessee this weekend. Talking to Colin earlier, it sounds like a fairly evenly matched series. Like, I think one team will probably win 2 of 3. I don't think it'll be a sweep either way. So it's going to come down to Carolina. Can they execute? And they have played better at home. We'll see what happens this weekend, but clearly a massive, massive weekend.
And Tennessee, I think you pointed this out last week, and it's been talked about a lot since then, bad on the road. Tennessee has not been a very good road team. South Carolina, of course, their rotation, their pitching, really everything. The hitting has gotten back a little bit on the right track. Pitching against Arkansas was a lot better. Charlotte game, you scored enough runs, and you looked at the approach, and I think you felt a little bit better about it, but they need to be able to put everything together. The entire picture has to come together, and that's really, I think, guys, been the biggest issue, right? You go to Arkansas, you get quality starts from your starters, you do a great job of holding back an offense that's been really good this season, one of the best teams in the country, but your bats go cold, right? The Charlotte game, you get the bats back on the right track, the pitching lets you down. Not only the starts you got, you had some bad innings, your relievers are not what they typically have been. You look at Chris Veach. So you got to put everything together at once, and that's been really tough, for them lately. But here's a question I have. What's the difference in this weekend? We know kind of the potential consequences of losing, right? Like losing the series or getting swept, which would be the worst-case scenario. But is there a big difference in winning 2 and winning the series or getting a sweep? Does that give you some additional leverage, maybe going into. Then of course it depends on what you do going into Hoover as well.
Now, getting the sweep would get you to that 40 win total, which we know is obviously a very, very big deal. As far as jumping up in the rankings, I don't know how big of a difference one game over the other would make, but nevertheless, winning the series of vital importance for South Carolina to stay in that top 16 seeding there. But I don't know, you got to factor in all the things they put in the RPI and so on and so forth. I don't know if that extra game makes that big of a difference at the end of the day or not.
Probably not a ton. And I mean, the RPI for the most part kind of is what it is at this point. I think there's so much data that's already in there. I don't know how much how much wiggle room there is. But I mean, I just look at tonight, if they get to play, hopefully they do. I think you got to win game one. And as much as has happened to this team the last few weeks, they got to have something positive to build off of. And the fan base, you can feel the pressure of the fan. And the fans are great, don't get me wrong, but you can feel that pressure starting to beat down. And, they need something to cheer about going into the next two games. And that stadium over there is a completely different vibe when things are going well versus when fans are kind of sitting there waiting on the next bad thing to happen. So if you are going into game 2 and 3 of this series knowing you have to win them both to win the series, that, I guess it goes without saying. But more than ever, I think that's a tough situation, whereas maybe you start to feel a little bit better about yourself if you can start this series. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, they were winning all the game ones, it felt like, of the series. Now, they were winning all of their games anyway.
Yeah.
But, and baseball is such a funny game. Like, you can look like the worst team that's ever suited up one day, and then all of a sudden something can click, something can get going again, and you can look back like yourself. And I talk about this all the time. I watch professional baseball all the time. I probably watch 150 games a year. The professional athletes can look like they've never picked up a baseball for a couple of days, and then they snap out of it. So if you're Carolina, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know what the catalyst is to help you snap out of it, but it can happen. The season has not been written yet. The finish of this year has not been written. There is still time, but I feel like you're running into the time where it has to happen now.
And with starting pitching, you're going to have Eli Jones getting the starting game one. Hopefully it does happen tonight, much like you did last weekend. Opposed to last weekend, though, where you had already announced that Jones and Becker would be your first game and your third game starter. They're leaving the second two games open-ended, so that gives you the opportunity to use Mahoney and Becker out of the bullpen should you need them. And we talked about this with Colin earlier. It's an all-hands-on-deck approach to try and get that first game to go in your favor so you're not playing behind from the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, not to put too much pressure on just one player, right? But Eli Jones, you need the type of start from him like he turned in at Arkansas. I mean, that's the bottom line. And look, you can win baseball games, as we know, in a variety of different ways. It could be that, maybe Jones doesn't have his best start, or maybe they have a rough inning where you give up 3 runs, 4 runs, even if it's a reliever in there, and the bats pick you up, right? They need, like Wes said, something good to happen, and they might not have to put together a complete performance, but they're overall for the series, they're going to have to, put all the different pieces together. But I think it starts tonight with Jones. I totally agree with Wes that you really need to win game one, and when you're searching for that catalyst to be able to win this series, I think it just starts tonight. You need to go through, have a few clean innings, put some zero, keep Tennessee from putting up runs early. That's something they've struggled with, is getting jumped on early in some of these series as of late. Even, you look at Charlotte, you look at the Kentucky game, you look at the Arkansas series. They got jumped on early at times during this rough stretch. You need to go put some zeros up on the board from a pitching standpoint, and then, need to get some key hits, maybe a long ball or two early, and kind of build some confidence in game one.
I loved what we saw to Eli Jones last week. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, only walked 2 guys, struck out 10. And, I feel like in this league, a lot of times you think of your ace guy, your Friday night guy, Thursday in this case, as being that guy like Paul Scheme for LSU, just dominant ace stuff, where really they're overwhelming as far as their velocity and their out pitches. However, we've seen, look at South Carolina when they made their run. We're number 1 College World Series old newspaper right there. Well, Blake Cooper back then was not a guy you would have said had overwhelming stuff, but your Friday guy sometimes can just be that guy that just pitches well. And I think you look at Eli last week, he was spotting up all of his pitches. He looked confident. He looked in control. He looked to me like a guy that can go into situations like tonight and pitch very, very well. So to me, sometimes being the Friday guy, the game one guy, is just as much about mentality as anything. And they may have found something with Eli Jones. I know they didn't win game one last week, but I got a feeling he can kind of replicate that this week. And if so, that really, I think, sets them up pretty well for this series.
And one thing that can play to the Gamecocks' advantage is Tennessee's best hitter, Jared Dickey, who leads the team with a .352 batting average and 12 home runs, did injure his shoulder sliding into home against Kentucky in Game 2 of their series last weekend. He sat out Game 3. Tennessee ends up losing that game 10-0, so definitely a factor of him missing on the offense there. And we talked to Colin a little bit earlier on in the morning. No update on him as of yet. Probably going to try to go, but probably not at 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're South Carolina, you certainly don't want to ever root for the opposition to not have somebody available, particularly when you look at what happened to this team. But, you need, frankly, at this point, you need some things to go your way, right? And one of those is not having any additional injuries on this team. If somebody else is not available for the opposition, great, right? I think a couple other things that come to mind for this series, I know we talked yesterday about Ethan Petrie, and Wes was kind of diving into some of the minutia of the at-bat that he had where he took a pitch and hit it for a double, ended up scoring, later. That was a big at-bat, a big hit. And, you got to hope for Petrie and for this Gamecock baseball team that maybe he's got some confidence building back up, right? He kind of come back down to earth a little bit. He had a couple hits, I think, in that game against Charlotte, even though South Carolina didn't win. And I pointed out yesterday, guys, it's been 8 games since he's hit a home run. That's his longest stretch, that he's gone. I think there's been a couple other stretches this season where, he's gone like 5 games without hitting one. This team, I won't want to say they've lived and died by the long ball, right? But certainly when you look at statistically, they've been one of the best in the country at hitting home runs. They need Petrie, I think, to get back to that form and maybe do it early and do it in game 1.
Yeah, and I think you just hope the kid can relax because you can tell from his body language at the plate. He is feeling it. He is taking on the way of the world. And it should, as much as he is important to this lineup, he shouldn't have to feel all the pressure to carry the 8 other guys. So I think, it was a different lineup when he was going well, but part of the reason for that was all the guys were going pretty well around him, and it kind of snowballed from there. You can just, it's almost, I don't want to say it's uncomfortable watching him, but just, you feel bad for him because every strike you can almost feel like his emotions are on his sleeve. So, we had him in for Garnet Trust Hour. Phenomenal dude. So humble, kind of carries himself, without that air of I'm better than everybody else. I'm the best freshman, arguably right up there with that Georgia guy in the SEC, but doesn't carry himself like that at all. Was just as humble, laid back, nice of a dude as you could possibly meet. So, you hope for him personally he can get it back going, but I think it's more about just taking a deep breath, relaxing, getting back to doing what he was doing. But I think we have seen signs of that. Even at Arkansas, he had a ball he hit that was right up against the wall. Depending on the stadium, we maybe don't even have that stat. It would have been out. So he did that against Arkansas, had a couple big hits on Tuesday. So maybe Petrie's starting to get back into what he was doing earlier. And
I think part of that, too, to help him and really the rest of the lineup out, right? Because I don't think most of the guys are hitting with the level of confidence that they had early in the season. He's obviously a really good example of that lately, but this, I think, is a reason why, you don't want to walk out of the first inning and Tennessee's put up 3 runs, right? And then you're coming to bat, and now you got the weight on of the world on your shoulders again because, okay, we're down. I've got to make something happen here. And, we're in this streak now, and, it's a must-win series for us, right? So you need to get off to a really good start from a pitching standpoint. And I think, guys, another thing, I failed to say this earlier, they've got to make sure that they do the small things right? You don't want to walk away from this series saying, well, they outplayed Tennessee, but the errors, right? Vanderbilt, that was kind of the story of that one. The other night, after the Charlotte game, close game, 2-run game, what was a big storyline in that one? Sending Messina, right? So you don't want to walk away from this weekend talking about things like that. But again, that goes back to kind of the big picture. I think we've dove into it pretty deep now. You got to pitch well, you got to hit well, you got to do the small things. Obviously, you have to do those, but those are all things that, if you look at the individual games, it's been one of those issues. Sometimes it's been all three of them.
Game 1 coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. Weather permitting, it's stopped raining right now, but we'll see what it does for the rest of the day. Pre-game coverage starting at 6:45 right here on 107.5 The Game. You guys brought up Ethan Petrie. In fact, for the next person that comes down to Gold Line Framing, we have a signed Ethan Petrie shirt. Just walk in, say, hey, give me the Ethan Petrie shirt, and it is all yours here at 511 12th Street in West Columbia, broadcasting live from Gold Line Framing. It's the Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen, with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
All right, and welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, Wes, and Chris, along with you, broadcasting live from Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street in West Columbia, right across the street from Zesto. Been hanging out here all morning long. We'll be here until noon. We got baseball tickets. We got gift certificates to the store. We got an Ethan Petrie t-shirt for the next person that comes in and wants it. So much cool stuff happening out here at Gold Line Framing, and we are lucky to be joined right now by the owner of Gold Line Framing, Kendall Walsh. And this is such a cool store, and we've been taking in everything that we've been seeing all morning long.
Yeah, Kendall, welcome in. This is Kendall's second time on the show. Last time, did y'all know that South Carolina was about to play Tennessee in football?
Ooh.
Yes.
Now they're about to play them in baseball. So we know what happened last time. Kendall, have you brought the good luck again this time? Gamecock fans would love for you to say yes.
I certainly hope so.
Are you picking South Carolina this weekend?
Oh, no question.
Sweep or 2 out of 3?
Sweet, baby.
Okay, I thought you might go that way. But I believe her. I think Carolina's going to play good this weekend. Kendall, thanks for having us out. Thanks for the spread. We're again at Gold Line Framing. Kendall, if I'm a Gamecock fan and I'm walking in here and I'm going to buy something, I'm going to get some brownie points too. I'm going to buy something for my wife to go on the wall. Where are you pointing me? What are my options if I'm a Gamecock fan looking for something nice to add to the house? I know you got several different things, but what direction are you pointing me?
Well, it depends on if you're a Gamecock grad. We have some great diplomas that diploma frames we can make for you. We have some in store already ready-made. And then we also have some great watercolors. We have pictures of Williams-Brice, both framed and prints, that you can customize the frame yourself. Here at Gold Line, we actually cut the frames ourselves. We cut the glass, the mats, all of that. We cut it ourselves here in store. So we can sell you something from our gallery that might be perfect in your space, or create it by you coming in and choosing a frame out that you would like in your home or office.
So basically, I can pick whatever I want. I can bring it in here, and
Absolutely.
I can be like, y'all make this look better. And then I hand it to you, and then I come back, and it looks better.
Yes.
Chris?
Pretty much nailed it. No, I was telling Kendall, too, before we started the show this morning that it's hard to find good framing. I'm serious. It's hard to find somebody that can do it well at a good price. But they also have, it's hard to go into a place that has stuff like this awesome picture of Williams-Brice or some of these watercolors that are already framed.
Who's the artist on the watercolor?
That is Grace Langdon Art, and she's local.
Oh, yeah. We'll give her a shout-out, too, because
Yes.
those actually caught my eye. I've seen you've put those on your Instagram
Yes.
as well. I've seen you promoting them with the reels, I think, and photos on there. That's Gold Line Framing SC
Yes.
on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
But those are awesome, and I'm sure if there's a Clemson fan, you could probably help
We
them
have
out
that as
too.
well.
But I noticed those are hidden in the back somewhere, I think.
They are.
But those are awesome, and I feel very unique. I'm
Yes.
always looking for things that Gamecock fans can enjoy, but aren't just the same as everything else you see.
Absolutely. And she actually offers, we have cocktail napkins that feature her work, tea towels. We have a variety of items from Grace, and she goes by Gracie. But yeah, we like to support local here. As we mentioned, we do a lot of things ourselves in store, and we like to feature other local businesses as well, whether they be artists, whatnot.
I feel so the store kind of has a couple of different distinct things. Like, you can be in here as a Gamecock fan, or just you have your art gallery back here as well. So if you're a sports person, you're kind of looking for something from that standpoint, you have those options. But what do y'all have in terms of art? And you have a full gallery on basically the other wall here.
So we have some canvases that were done by Dawn Caldwell. She's another local artist. We have some that are done by Jeff Weiss, another local artist. His work we've actually framed. His canvases, Dawn's, are frameless. We have some other artwork that has a glass in the front, the typical custom framing. That's ready to purchase. We do have a little bit of home decor, but we try to focus on the custom framing here. And like we mentioned, we have Gracie's. We actually are going to start framing some of hers too, but we like to leave it up to the customer to fit their space based on the frames we have here.
One thing I love, Chris, about Gamecock Nation is I do feel like people will support other Gamecocks, and or at least they'll give you the chance to earn their business, right? So come on down. We still got some prizes, but even if you can't come today, when you have a moment, come out to Goal Line Framing. But Kendall, you used to, obviously you're a Gamecock fan, but you worked with the Gamecock Club for several years, and you were Kendall Belk for part of that, maybe all that. I don't know exactly when you were telling us 5 years ago, right? So I guess Gamecocks supporting Gamecocks.
Yes.
Do you want to, you're like hardcore Gamecock fan. When we started getting Kendall, talking to her about being an advertiser, no, this was when we were buying our house.
Yes.
Kendall would roll up, and I would hear 107.5 cut off on the radio when she would show up. So you're hardcore Gamecock. So if anybody's listening and they want to support another Gamecock, that is you.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I was the first female assistant Gamecock Club director in athletics. I worked there for about 9.5 years before starting my real estate career. It was hard to leave, but we were starting a family, and it just made more sense at the time. Still very close to those guys over there. We do a lot for the university, both on campus, athletics. We try to support them in any way we can, from the president's office, like I said, special events. And we do everything from diplomas, jerseys, shadow boxes, you name it. We can do it here in store. So try to keep that. But I do want to give a quick shout out if I can.
Go for it.
My husband Brandon Walsh coaches for the Hammond baseball team, and they are hopefully going to play in the state championship game tonight. And the athletics director over at Hammond is Jeff Barnes. Yep. So another Gamecock. So go Skyhawks. He'll be bringing home tonight.
And so this, real quick, this is game 3 for state championship.
It is.
And they are in it, but we'll see if it happens tonight
Weather
because
permitting.
of weather.
Yes.
They'll try to play tomorrow, I guess, if they can't.
I would think
you would
so,
think,
but
you would hope.
We'll have to ask Barnes that question.
Yeah, Barnes, if you're listening, text one of us. And that's at Cardinal Newman.
It'll be
because
neutral
it's neutral.
site is Cardinal Newman tonight, 6 p.m.
Shout out Hammond. There's a lot of Gamecocks in the Hammond community.
Lots of Gamecocks ties. Kendall being another one. And shout out to Robert. He just came in and snagged an Ethan Petrie tee.
Oh, there you go.
Here at Gold Line Framing. Got it from the wonderful Josh Yellman. We appreciate Robert for
coming. He should have got
in.
it framed before he left.
He could have. That would have been a good. Maybe he'll come back for that. He didn't have time today.
Yeah, I will say, so there's a diploma over there on the wall. That's what I've been telling everybody about. For the most part, I've been focused on that when I do our ad reads during the show. This is the perfect time.
Absolutely.
Kendall Smith, who's on the show with Gamecock Central, she just graduated. I tried to get her as her going away gift a frame from here, but she had already gotten one.
Oh,
like some family member had already gotten it. But this would be perfect if you have a diploma, if you just graduated, or someone in your family is graduating or just graduated. That would be a great gift, I feel like.
Absolutely. Bring it on in here.
Are you a memorabilia collector? Like, do you have any treasured Gamecock items?
Somewhat, yes.
Have you gotten any of them framed, or is it more like...
I have.
Okay.
Especially over the years.
And what's your best?
That's how I met Lisa, who owned Gold Line before me, is I did most of the donor gifts when I worked at Carolina. We got all of them framed here. And so then every once in a while I'd bring in a personal item as well. So I have a lot of memorabilia framed at my house.
You have a most treasured or favorite one?
One of the coolest things actually an intern did for me, I managed up to 16 interns at one time when I was at Carolina, and one of them had all of my game day badges framed.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought that was really cool. So
that is really cool. So, all right, Kendall, I want to go back to the game this weekend.
Yes.
can you give us a score prediction on these 3 South Carolina baseball games?
All 3.
No, I think so. Kendall has promised me that Carolina's winning this weekend.
Okay.
So we're going to put her prediction to the test.
Okay.
What's the score tonight? If we play.
If we play, let's go 7-5.
7-5 Gamecocks. All right. Next day.
Let's go 4-1.
Okay. And game 3.
Shut them down. Let's make it 6-3.
Okay. I like this. You heard it here.
Yeah, we'll hold her to that.
Yeah, we will.
Now, if that holds true, I'm buying lottery tickets.
Yes, you. So I know where I was going to go. When you were buying stuff from here before as a customer, were you sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to buy this joint one day"?
Absolutely
or
not.
How did all this happen?
So I became really good friends with Lisa from bringing our stuff, from the university and personally here for years. I've known her for almost 2 decades. And with that relationship, I knew where she was in life. She just welcomed her 4th grandchild last fall, and she was getting to a place where she wanted to prioritize her family. And I had just mentioned to her one day, if you ever thought about selling the store, I'd be interested. And she called me last summer and said it's time. So then I called my dear friend who's here with us, Joni James, known Joni for almost as long as Lisa. And I said, hey, how do you feel about running a frame shop for me? And both of us came in right in January. We opened the store January 4th under the new ownership and hit the ground running. And between our contacts and our work ethic, I think we make a great pair. Clyde Wren actually stopped by this morning to see us. He's a dear friend of both mine and Joni's, and the support we've had has been tremendous. But we hope to carry that customer service to that next level. And we still have Lisa, the previous owner, on staff. She's our number 1 framer. So that's kind of how it came about.
So Gold Line has been here for 20 years, basically.
It's between Lisa and the previous owner before her, it's been here for over 20 years. Lisa had it for 17.
And y'all are open Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then y'all are open on Saturdays.
Yes.
So if you're in town for a game, whether it's baseball series or this coming football season, if you're in town for a game and want to swing by before the football game, open 10 a.m. on Saturdays.
Yep, 10 to 2.
10 to 2, so they can come by then.
And Kendall, thanks so much for joining us for a couple of minutes. Definitely easy to tell you are a passionate Gamecock fan, and as we were talking about, you come in here and get plenty of things Gamecock related to hang on the walls of your home. So again, Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street here in West Columbia. Run into a timeout, come back on the other side, continue on with Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on 107.5 The Game.
An important message from Blue Ridge Hospice. There may be several hospices now claiming to serve the area, but Blue Ridge Hospice is the only local hospice that has been serving here for 40 plus years, operates the only hospice inpatient care center, conducts the only community-wide grief and bereavement programs, offers a nationally recognized music therapy program in conjunction with Shenandoah University, outscores every other Virginia hospice in Medicare's quality scores, and so much more. Blue Ridge Hospice, the first, the best. Find out more at blueridgehospice.org.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head. On your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Here at 107.5 The Game, Tyler, West, and Chris hanging out until noon at Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street in West Columbia. We got baseball tickets. We got gift certificates. We did give away the Ethan Petrie t-shirt to our guy Robert, so that's no longer available. But if you can get down here in the next 20 minutes or so, you can still grab some of these other great prizes. Enjoyed our morning out here at Gold Line Framing. Tomorrow, guys, we are going to be just down the street at Firehouse Subs here in West Columbia.
Yes, super excited about being at Firehouse Subs. Spicy Cajun chicken, guys. If you don't want to wait till tomorrow, go get it. Sub of the day. You can use the Rapid Rescue. Order online at firehousesubs.com or download the Firehouse Subs app. 14 different locations all around the Midlands. Looking forward to seeing our buddy Larry Chandler out there tomorrow. But yeah, sub of the day today, $7.99 for a medium. Spicy Cajun chicken, firehousesubs.com, Rapid Rescue.
By the way, if you can be here within 22 minutes, we also have Spencer Rattler signed mini helmet available.
And you only have 21 minutes.
21 minutes now. You got to be here by noon. It goes back in the case at noon, and we'll bust it out later on. But if you come by Gold Line Framing before noon, you can have signed Spencer Rattler Gamecock mini helmet right here on location.
In the last hour, we had Nikki Emmanwori hanging out with us for the Garnet Trust Hour. So much to unpack from our conversation with Nick. For one, very, very natural when it comes to the radio. Didn't seem nervous at all, and gave us a lot of great insight into what's going on with the South Carolina football program. And we were talking about this in the commercial break. Somebody who's just with a lot of self-confidence and just has that swagger about him that you love to see in a student athlete.
It was kind of interesting listening to Nick, and he has a way about himself to where he can be confident without sounding cocky almost. Like, it's rare that a guy can tell you, I'm the best basketball player on the team, I'm the fastest guy on the team. He didn't say I'm the best football player on the team, but y'all know what I mean. You
probably would, though.
Well, I think it's one of those things where he's one of those guys that just carries himself like that. He plays like that. Coming in as a freshman, he was not fazed at all by coming in last year and having to just go out there and play the first drive of the season, basically. And, I really respect people that can come across humble but self-confident at the same time. And you can just tell he truly believes in himself. There's kind of an inner confidence there that is really cool to see.
He reminds me a lot in that regard of a guy that we talked about a lot and that he's been competing against this offseason in Juice Wells. Like, Juice is a humble guy, right? But he is very confident in his abilities. And they even had similar answers, right? So we asked Nick Emmanwori about guys that he went against last year. Who was the toughest? And he kind of took him a little bit. He came up with some guys. Who did he say? Brock Bowers was one. Chris Rodriguez was one. He kind of said, hey, it's kind of the I fear no man like mentality. And Juice Wells said a very similar thing. You're asking him about going against different corners, and I don't really worry about any other corner. I just do my own thing. So they're both very confident, but it's not in a cocky way. They don't have that type of disposition. They carry themselves very confidently, and they both really believe in hard work. There's zero complacency with Nick Emmanwori. There's zero complacency with Juice Wells.
Let's recap. Nick, still the fastest guy on the team. He says, how about the fact that he got off the training table and threw his cleats on and was
I didn't know that.
He's like, we're going to go do this right now to race AB. And he did beat him, and look back at him. 50-yard race, he said he believes. He confirmed that. I would love to see them go on a 40-yard dash. I think it might have been even tighter. So we learned that. We learned there has been some, at the very least, half joking, probably not actually joking, talk about Dow Loggins trying to get Nick on offense for a couple plays. I don't see that actually happening. Not that Nick couldn't do it, but I imagine Torian Gray will be like, no, not happening, if he can help that. And we learned that Nick absolutely would be in his own starting five basketball. Put Marcellus Dial in there. That was a new one. What else? That's my rundown, I feel like. And he's been in Texas working out with some NFL guys. I thought that was
Micah Parsons, Chris Vaughn,
cool.
who just got Deuce Vaughn. I'm sorry. Micah Parsons, Vaughn, and who was the other one? There's the receiver.
I can't remember.
Not Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase.
There you go.
Yeah. I knew it was an LSU receiver. Thank you, Josh Yeoman, for the assist there. Good company there.
Oh, yeah,
Lots
absolutely.
of different body types, different guys. But Nick, also, he's a different type of guy from an athletic standpoint. I couldn't take my mind off of he just sprung that Dow Loggins thing on us, and I'm trying to, gather more information. All right, was he serious when he said it? Was he joking?
Well,
he brought it up more than once.
I know what's going to come up the next time Dow Loggins gets to speak to the media.
There's no doubt about that. Shane Beamer, next welcome home tour stop for Shane Beamer.
yes.
I don't think he's going to be too keen on that.
The question or the idea?
Maybe neither. The idea.
Yeah.
I think he'll give the answer. We're always looking to find ways to improve our team and things like that. Nick can definitely do it if we wanted to. He might shut it down, though. He might just go ahead and shut it down.
Well, I feel like Nick kind of shut down my, hey, will you ever play linebacker? He's like, yeah, I'm a DB.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of locked in as a DB. And also, you know what? The video game thing. He kind of did say he felt like being in a locker room, there would be some guys that would say, I want additional money. But I think to Chris's point, and I think Nick kind of agreed. He was shaking his head when you said it. There is you would get some pushback internally from your teammates if you were the only guy who didn't agree to be on the game.
And speaking of the video game, he gave himself an 86 as a freshman for his rating. Now, would that have anything to do with before the season or after the season? Because there's a big difference between your rating when they haven't seen you play at the college level and after seeing you for a full year. So I'm assuming he's saying that's what his rating would be before he even touched the field. That, again, going back to the confidence thing.
Yeah, there's no way. So I don't know if there's very few freshmen that going into their freshman. So say the game comes out,
right?
You've got a freshman on there that would have been an 88, and I don't think. Although maybe you could say he deserved it after the fact, I don't think they would have made Nick an 88. Like, he wasn't like a 5. Like, you need to be like a 5-star kid,
sure,
to get an 88 rating.
Yeah, but
going into this year,
oh yeah, this year different story.
He'd probably be the highest rated guy on the defense this year.
Yeah,
right.
That's safe to say.
Yeah, probably.
He'd be one of the highest on the team, I think, overall. Mm-hmm. And he said that the speed attribute. Did he give us an actual speed? I don't think he gave us a number.
He didn't give us a number. He said it would probably be the highest out of all of his.
He did say it'd
ratings.
Be the highest.
Yeah,
but he didn't give us a number. Yeah, we're going to double back to that.
Because what the ratings, you have speed, you have like awareness, agility, strength,
tackling, coverage, all the different things.
Yeah, a couple of those. So he'd be pretty highly rated in all those, but I think speed would definitely be the top spot. All right, we are broadcasting live from Gold Line Framing out here, 511 12th Street in West Columbia. Hanging out for a few more minutes, going until 12 o'clock. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on 107 by the Game.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
You have been selected as the first astronaut to explore the planet Mars.
All right, and welcome back in to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you for just a couple more minutes hanging out here at Gold Line Framing, 511 12th Street in West Columbia. Shout out to our guy, AJ, who came in and claimed the Spencer Rattler mini helmet, said he was literally working right down the street, rushed up here, hoping nobody else was going to take it before him. So that one is off the table. Do still have some gift certificates and some baseball tickets to give away as well, but man, it's been a fun morning out here.
It is. We're at 511 12th Street, West Columbia. By the way, their number is 803-739-1337. Still lots of great Gamecock stuff on the wall that you can buy as well. But if you get down here in 10 minutes, we do still have a couple of giveaways too.
Yep, sounds fun. Nick Emmanwori was really, really good, guys. Enjoyed talking to him. I felt like we had we were talking about it before he even came on. We're like, man, we have a lot of stuff to cover. I don't think we even got to everything that we could have gotten to with Nick, but we did learn a lot. Recapping it last segment, here's something else I wanted to get you guys take on too. I asked him about Spencer Rattler because a lot of the other players have mentioned that Spencer really took, it felt like he took the next step and it seemed more comfortable. A lot of them are saying the same type of things about Spencer Rattler, and Nick mentioned that too. More comfortable, kind of in his skin, the leadership role, and making a lot of plays during the spring. I think that's kind of a little bit of almost an underrated storyline, maybe, just the amount of teammates that have been talking about Spencer Rattler.
Well, I think even Spencer, and I think Shane Beamer has said this too, when he first got here, he was trying to get settled in, and that didn't just mean scheme. That meant, I think, as a leader as well, and you don't want to be the guy that comes in and starts telling people what to do, and it doesn't go off very well when that happens. Your teammates kind of push back a little bit, kind of a sense of like, who's this guy think he is, I think. So he came in, put his head down, went to work, and I think once you have a full year with the guys, though, you start to kind of build up a little bit of cachet, a little bit of ability to kind of, not boss guys around, but to be that leader, to be that guy who knows when to push, when to pull. And I think you're seeing that, and I think that probably displays itself, with confidence on the field as well, and how he's playing in practice, obviously.
Well, and we saw it took him a little while, really through 10 games of last season to really get settled in and start gelling with the offense, specifically guys like Juice Wells, and we saw the product of that in those last 3 games of the season. Now you're carrying that momentum into the spring, obviously continuing on with Juice, working with Trey Knox, Josh Scheinman, these new tight ends, obviously getting integrated into this new offense with Dow Loggins, and the hope is that you can just carry that momentum from last season through the spring into the start of this season where he can live up to that potential that we all hoped for when he got to campus a year ago.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, the way they're kind of trying to structure this offense too probably fits, not it's exactly the same terminology, it's probably a little bit different at times, but fits what we saw them try to do during those games where, hey, guess what? All of a sudden everything started clicking, but they did sort of chop down what they were trying to do offensively, I think, and they're trying to do everything they can. It sounds like to carry that over into this season.
Yeah, there was some good to build off of last year, and so the amount of concepts and plays and personnel groupings they were running at the end of the year, it was vastly scaled down from what we saw against, say, Florida, right, which was a disaster offensively for a lot of reasons, whether it's turnovers or what they took into the game. They were able to scale everything back, and I think we'll see some additions, right? We'll see some terminology changes, but offensively it'll be, I think, just playing to Spencer Rattler's strengths, being able to play faster sometimes, and being able to just administer the offense in a way that caters to his strengths is going to be a big point of emphasis.
And I know CBS Sports put out this article the other day about 7 quarterbacks that could play their way into the first round with a good season in 2023, and Spencer Rattler was on that list. And when he got to South Carolina, I think everybody thought, okay, he's going to be here for 1 year, get what he needs out of here, and go fairly high in the NFL draft. Again, season didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to up until the very end there. But yeah, if he comes into 2023, offense goes well, he has a good season, improves on his numbers from last year, there's no reason to think that he can't possibly be a first-round guy. At worst, maybe a second-round guy.
Well, I think it sets up pretty well for Spencer. The key, obviously, going into game 1 would be to win the game, but it's going to be billed by the media as Spencer Rattler versus May. So, I think from that standpoint, it's going to be set up like this is a one-on-one matchup almost, because we know people like to kind of latch onto those storylines. So I think for him, it's kind of an opportunity to build an early season sort of headline moving into the rest of the year.
Yeah, just build that buzz. And you look like at the last draft class of quarterbacks, all of them were kind of divisive in one way or another because it was, well, should Bryce Young be the number 1 pick or should he not because of his size and this and that. Will Levis was obviously very polarizing. Anthony Richardson was polarizing. C.J. Stroud, does he deserve to go number 1? What about, he's going to go to the NFL and his receivers at Ohio State are going to be better than what he has in the NFL, and on and on. You always see some of that. But Spencer's always going to be someone that's kind of polarizing, right? Because everybody is so hyper-focused on what happened at Oklahoma, what happened in the past, not to mention anything at South Carolina, right? So for him, it's just about, I think, like Wes said, getting off to that early start, winning the game, winning that quarterback battle. It's a team game, obviously, but that'll draw the lion's share of the headlines, winning that battle against Drake May, and that's something that you can, I think, really build off of for the rest of the year. And for really what this is for him is a contract year,
No, absolutely. That'll just about do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Again, we've been broadcasting live for the past 3 hours out at Gold Line Framing at 511 12th Street here in West Columbia, right across from Zesto. So thank you so much to Kendall Walsh, the owner, and everybody out here for having us today. We've certainly enjoyed it being out here all morning long. And again, tomorrow we're going to be broadcasting from Firehouse Subs just down the street, also here in West Columbia, for the Friday edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, as well as in the bonus and the extra point as well. So excited for that, guys.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Come on out, have a sandwich, and Gamecock Central Takeover is taking over West Columbia, I guess.
Absolutely,
yeah,
it is. And even though, guys, we are about to depart our friends here at Gold Line Framing, you still come in. Check out, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. So if you didn't get by this morning, come on by after we get off air here.
All right, halftime show with Jay and Terry coming up next here on 107.5 The Game.
Make a difference. Relish a great work-life balance. Enjoy generous benefits and competitive pay. Go home each night feeling fulfilled by your work. Work for an employer of choice. Work for Blue Ridge Hospice. We're always looking to hire compassionate RNs, CNAs, or anyone interested in office or thrift shop work. We've been your not-for-profit community hospice since 1981. Visit our website for more information or to apply today at blueridgehospice.org. That's blueridgehospice.org. Blue Ridge Hospice is an equal opportunity employer.